1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
I'm James Hake. This is Wednesday, September 11th, 2019. I had to think about the date. 9 a.m. Pacific time, 4th hour of Jesse Lee Peterson's stream. Thank you, Jesse. And thank you guys for staying tuned. So, shout out to YouTube, D Live, Mixer, and Periscope. Audio on jlptalk.com. jlptalk.com. Redirects to Jesse Lee Peterson's radio show page. And you can catch mine on thehakereport.com/podcast after the show. I upload it. So, tomorrow, I have a quick announcement. Tomorrow, I am scheduled to talk with a Skype guest, a liberal guy. So that should be fun. Really fun. Cool. And by the way, that photo for my Hake Report splash screen that you guys look at the beginning and end of the show, that is, I don't know if I told you guys, that's a photo I took over in Santa Monica, you know, with the iPhone thing. Taken with the iPhone. And you know how stuff uploads to Google Photos, and then sometimes Google, if you guys have Google Photos, Google will automatically doctor the photo to make it look nice. That's why it looks so nice. Otherwise, it looks kind of stylized. You can show that splash screen just so you guys see what I'm talking about. Well, I mean, you were just looking at it, but yeah, cool, nice shot. Santa Monica Pier. I think it's Santa Monica. Anyways, just thought I would let you guys know about that. So, terrorism and trauma and brainwashing all factor in with this whole 9/11 thing. I say that 9/11 was our fault, America's fault, for training those foreigners. Because I believe that these Muslim terrorists, Saudis, I believe that they were, took pilot lessons and training and had visas, some of them is what I heard, to come here. And we trained them, and then they hijacked our stuff and flew it into buildings, and some Americans downed one of the planes in a field in Pennsylvania on 9/11/2001, September 11th. And one flew into the Pentagon and hurt some people. Killed some people, I think. Almost 3,000 Americans died, and then a bunch of others have died from like complications from dealing with the dust and smoke and all that other stuff. Firemen and stuff like that have died from this, the fallout. And we have this false notion that diversity is such a good thing. Well, we don't, right? Most of my listeners are not liberals, at least not anymore. So we don't fall for this diversity thing. Diversity is a liberal word. Diversity means a whole bunch of different people coming together and trying to have peace. It's a false imitation of the kingdom of heaven. Because the Bible says that in the kingdom of heaven or something like that, there is neither Jew nor Greek, male nor female, blah, 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 blah. But everybody is one in Christ. So something like that, right? Well, they want to skip the Christ part and just have everybody one. But no, that doesn't work. This is the kingdom of Satan with this diversity stuff. It's all, even when it's like an ethno state, if it's not Christian, the real type of Christian, not the fake type. Because we have a whole lot of fake type of Christians in America and around the world today. And maybe throughout history, to be honest. Because the Bible does say very few will enter the kingdom of heaven. Well, it doesn't say very few, but it says few will enter it. Isn't that kind of a warning? It's kind of scary almost. It's interesting. But with this terror attack, they got us to become what we hate. Well, not all of us, right? Hopefully, but they got Americans to become what they hate, to embrace their enemies. It's kind of like the Stockholm syndrome. You start, all of a sudden, everybody starts embracing the Muslims. And George W. Bush, I remember, said, Islam is a religion of peace. And with this terror attack, even though it was 18 years ago, I remember talking with one guy from New York about it. I came across him in Las Vegas, actually. And I brought up 9/11. I was like, how do New Yorkers feel about it? Or something like that. Or maybe I said, I didn't really think or feel that badly about it. And I thought that I should feel guilty for not feeling bad about the attacks. Didn't get all emotional about it because there is a whole lot of emotion about it. Probably because the media is in there. Most of the media is from New York or live in that area, and so they're extra emotional about it, as opposed to detached and just reporting the facts and yes, it's evil, all that stuff. But over in California, and I knew somebody in Pennsylvania that didn't really get that emotional about this terror attack that happened. Well, that guy, he broke down in tears when I told him that. But he wasn't mad at me, I didn't think. He didn't let on anyways. But he was really still traumatized by it. A lot of these people knew people that got killed and stuff like that. And speaking of, I was showing you guys, Joel was showing you guys pictures of this National Suicide Prevention Day, September 10th, or it's actually World Suicide Prevention Day, September 10th. And this has been the case since I don't know when. But I guess suicide has been an issue for quite some time. And yeah, people have done it for ages, right? Even one guy did it, suicided himself. He hanged himself after he betrayed Jesus, is in the Bible. What's his name? Judas Iscariot. So goes the story. He betrayed Jesus with a kiss and for 30 pieces of silver or something like that from the Pharisees or something. And then once he realized what he'd done, he went out and hanged himself. Crazy. So suicide has been happening for some time. That guy was guilt-ridden. But it seems like it has exploded with the modern times, with the breakdown of the family, I would guess, and the more and more rejection of real Christianity because so much fake Christianity has cropped up, and so some people are just outright rejecting it or embracing the fakeness. It's crazy. So where was I going with this suicide thing? Oh yeah. So there's this comedian who dated that woman with a trail of death behind her, that singer. She looks like she's 13. Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande dated this man named Pete Davidson, who is a comedian guy with SNL. And he was he kind of mocked the Dan Crenshaw guy with the eye patch because he lost it in the war or whatever was the line. I thought it was kind of funny to say it like that. That's how normal people talk, to be honest. But everybody thought that was so disrespectful. But anyways, that guy Pete Davidson, he struggles with suicidal thoughts and stuff, supposedly. I don't know if struggles with it is the right word, but that's the word that they commonly use, is struggle with depression or struggle with suicide or struggle with whatever. Well, he's had a lot of depression. His dad died I think in 9/11 or shortly after 9/11. His dad was a fireman, I believe. And Pete Davidson was 7 years old or something like that. And his dad died in 9/11, back at that time. And he was without his daddy, and now he's dating horrible, dumb women like Ariana Grande, who also dated a guy that OD'd on drugs, that Jewish rapper, white Jewish rapper, Mac Miller. She dated him too, and then she broke up with him, and then he OD'd on drugs. So men are especially younger men, my age, maybe a little older, but younger too, really going downhill bad. And like I said, this whole George W. Bush talking about there's Pete Davidson, and who's that? That's not Ariana Grande. No. Is that his mom? No. Anyways, this whole Islam is a religion of peace thing. In words, maybe. Like, you can probably pick out some words that are, like, peaceful, supposedly. And, but not in deed. And you have to look at the fruits, right? Same thing with these people that talk about how there's a lot of people that defend Louis Farrakhan. And Jesse points out, Jesse Lee Peterson, because he followed Louis Farrakhan at one point, that he mixes in a little bit of truth with lies. And so just because somebody says something that's true, you're not supposed to. I was about to say you don't supposed to, but I was raised amongst POCs, and I learned that from them. You're not supposed to like people too much just because they say something true. False religions always or often say the quote-unquote right things, and false everything. Always. I mean, look at think about the most evil people that you can imagine that are present day evil. I'm talking about in America. The media and the Democrat politicians. They couch their stuff in love, peace, blah, blah, blah. And then the violent evil ones like ISIS, they justify their evil with notions of injustice and stuff. And maybe some of what the liberals say and what the ISIS people say sound true if you're like an intellectual, but the fruit of everything is pure evil that they're pushing. The liberals are pushing abortion and fake love in terms of diversity, anti-Christian, anti-white, anti-men, and then anti-anybody that stands for what's right, or anti-anybody who's remotely independent-minded. Anti-PewDiePie stuff. And they have us infighting with the conspiracy theories, Jew blamers, America blamers, Muslim blamers, white blamers, globalist blamers, and then this hysteria over Islamophobia. It's just, like I said, terrorism, trauma, and brainwashing. And then human beings don't get along anyways. So, and we even kissed up to the Muslims with a Ground Zero mosque. Remember that? And I don't know exactly the whole story, but according to Wikipedia, Park 51, originally named the Cordoba House, is a development originally envisioned as a 13-story Islamic community center and mosque in Lower Manhattan. The developers hope to promote an interfaith dialogue. That's another liberal word. Most Muslims are liberals. Within the greater community. Due to its proposed location 2 blocks from the World Trade Center site, it was widely controversially referred to as the Ground Zero Mosque. The project would replace an 1850s building of Italianate style that was damaged in the September 11th attacks. So, and kiss up stuff. I hate that stuff. I'm going to get to your calls in a second, but I want to get to this whole National Suicide Day/week thing because it has affected the so-called Christian community. It is National Suicide Prevention Week, and Wikipedia says, great source, they never lie. I'm kidding. Since 1975, NSPW, National Suicide Prevention Week, awareness events are held throughout the week corresponding to World Suicide Prevention Day. 1975. Most of us probably weren't even born yet. Some of you were. Which is recognized annually on the 10th of December, the day. Well, the day before World Suicide Prevention Day, some guy, this pastor, young guy, 30 years old, killed himself, father of 2 white babies with sons. Real men make boys first? Well, this guy wasn't a real man, but he just so happened to make boys first. pastor and mental health advocate Jarrid, Jarrid, a little unusual spelling of his name. Jarrid Wilson dies by suicide. And I don't know how he took himself out. I have not found that information yet. I believe that this is from his wife, the news that his wife reported. So Fox News also reports megachurch pastor, mental health advocate Jarrid Wilson dies by suicide. And this guy is associated, you know those, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. You know those, this is like a serious Christian, supposedly. Maybe he was on the liberal side, right? But he was like mixed, maybe. Well, you remember those Harvest Crusades? Harvest bumper stickers, you see them, you used to see them on, the backs of Christian cars, of Christians with their cars. Harvest Crusades, annual event, I think, or they kind of go around, maybe even tour, to arenas and stadiums and hold these crusades, kind of like Billy Graham events. Big time preaching, mega church type stuff, right? Well, I think he was part of that Harvest Church thing. And if I'm wrong, I'll have to come back and correct it. But I think that Greg Laurie is his head pastor, because Greg Laurie posted about this guy. Greg Laurie being the head of the Harvest Crusade thing. Let me just confirm this. Greg Laurie, American author and pastor who serves as senior pastor of Harvest Christian Fellowship in Riverside, California. Harvest Corona in Corona. So that's that Greg Laurie guy. And this guy was sort of maybe a protege or something of this guy. And he was like a nice anti-abortion guy. Crusade. Yeah, Harvest Crusades, known for Harvest Crusades. I gave you good information. So, well, Fox News shares this guy's wife's and his head pastor Greg Laurie's Instagram posts. So according to his wife's Instagram, he committed suicide on Monday, I believe it was. Went home to be with Jesus, according to her. He was 30 years old. He was associate pastor at Harvest Christian Fellowship in Riverside, California, under Pastor Greg Laurie. He co-founded this organization called Anthem of Hope, a mental health nonprofit helping people deal with depression and suicidal thoughts. He hadn't overcome it. He is survived by his wife, Julianne, and two sons, Finch and Denham. Young sons, I believe. Pretty young. So one Facebook post by this guy from 2 months back. He said, quote, "My name is Jarrid Wilson. I'm a husband, father, pastor, and author. I also struggle with depression and have for most of my life." And he's this skinny, fit, 30-year-old white guy. Trendy looking, almost hipster looking Christian guy. Looks like you would see him at Azusa Pacific University, where I went to school. He says, "I'm not telling you this so you can feel bad for me. I'm telling you this so people know they're not alone and that God offers the strength and hope you need to keep going." But he didn't have the strength and hope to keep going. I'll give you some information, though. I'm just going to go through some of these pictures. Joel, if you can keep up, that's great. If not, I understand, because I gave him a lot of pictures. So he tweeted, just to give you some background on his politics. He tweeted about racism, sexism, without using the word necessarily, and illegal aliens. Just 2 days before, or a day or something before he died, he tweeted, "Am I the only one who thinks that using the title illegal aliens for illegal immigrants is both demeaning and degrading?" And then he later responds to some of the, maybe some of people attacked him for it. So he said, "Every country has requirements to become a legal citizen. I get that. Alien is what bothers me." So he's kind of a liberal, but he's young, but he's a liberal. But he also, remember that lady that, was she from Maryland or somewhere? that white lady who said, I want to keep our community white. And okay, if a black couple, they're both black, they want to come in, fine. But interracial, no. She didn't believe in that. And that was a viral thing. Jesse Lee Peterson covered it. It was kind of funny, but she was just speaking her mind. And she was forced to apologize or something like that, or step down or resign or something. I don't know if she apologized, but everybody apologized on behalf of her. So this guy says, on behalf of Jesus, let me apologize. He's tweeting this about this woman. To all people of color for these disgusting remarks made in the name of Christianity and the Bible. Meaning, it's disgusting for her to be opposed to interracial marriage. And especially interracial marriage in her community. She was like a city, on the city council or something. And he tweeted about it again. I don't know this lady personally, but racism has no place in the Bible. So it's very predictable he's brainwashed about the racism thing, right? And then in another incident, there was a KKK rally outside of a courthouse. And he said, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke this hatred, breaks my heart. So these people, it's kind of that's part of that brainwashing thing where people are over the top about so-called racism. Who cares? And then this guy was anti-sexism. I would have loved, he was on my list of guests that I wanted to come on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, by the way, but he can't now because he's dead. Well, some preacher, older preacher, and he quote tweets a clip about this older preacher who said, wife, you question your husband instead of submitting to him. Stop it. So this older preacher said that, right? Pastor Jim Standridge said something like that. You question your husband instead of submitting to him. Stop it. And Jarrid Wilson, of course, because he's young, millennial, trained the opposite way of manhood, says, no. So he's, typical like a brainwashed liberal. He may not even realize that he's liberal. Nowadays, people are so liberal that they think that they're centrist. There was a caller on Jesse's show, an anchor baby, actually. He was Hispanic, born to immigrant parents, who just got their citizenship like a year or two ago. And that man said, I'm pretty center. I lean a little bit more left than you, Jesse. A little bit, but then he's like for socialism. He's like for socialist healthcare. That's pretty liberal. Anyways, the center should be the Constitution. So like everybody, basically like the alt-right maybe like a little bit on the right in terms of nationalism, but in terms of some of the moral stuff, they're kind of every which way. Some of them are very strict morally, some of them not. And then everybody to the right of like Jesse would be like centrist, I think. Maybe a little bit more to the right of the Constitution. But all these people, the Democrats of today, I think that they would be kicked out of the country because it's like treasonous almost. Or it's definitely anti-Constitution. But they've changed the Constitution up so much with all these amendments and income tax, which was, I believe, an amendment and stuff like that. It has changed so bad. So people that say we've swung right, no, we've swung way left. And we've swung evil is really what happened. So this man, he also tweeted September 9th, 2:01 p.m. our time. Oh yeah, he's from Riverside, California, so he's our time. In the afternoon, I think this is the afternoon he died, September 9th, right? Wasn't the 9th? The 9th was Monday, right? Loving Jesus doesn't always cure suicidal thoughts. Loving Jesus doesn't always cure depression. Loving Jesus doesn't always cure PTSD. Loving Jesus doesn't always cure anxiety. But that doesn't mean Jesus doesn't offer us companionship and comfort. He always does that. This sounds just like these liberals that tout therapy. They would just talk about their therapist that way. Or, their lover, Ariana Grande. Making fun of Pete Davidson. And then he tweeted at the church, "Dear church, suicide takes over 100,000 lives a year in the USA and over 1 million lives worldwide. Your move, #mental health, #suicide prevention." And he's trying to help, or was trying to help before he killed himself. But how can you help people when you haven't even helped yourself? But he didn't know that there was a way to help yourself, I guess. And look at this. I think it's the day that he killed himself. Officiating a funeral for a Jesus-loving woman who took her own life today. Your prayers are greatly appreciated for the family. So he officiated a funeral. It looks like it, and then he went home and killed himself. Crazy. And I became aware of this guy, this pastor. It's weird to think of him as a pastor because he's 30. I mean, there's some 30-year-old pastors, right? But he looks so young, and he's liberal and stuff like that. But I became aware of him because, and then I will get to your calls, I promise. Because he said, he had this viral tweet about Alyssa Milano, you know, the far-left, nasty, filthy woman, Alyssa Milano. She pushes the Women's March stuff, I think. She's anti-Trump. She's very extremely pro-abortion, and this is why he responded to her. So Alyssa Milano basically says that if she hadn't opted for 2 abortions in 1993, quote, "my life would be completely lacking all of its great joys today." And so she committed 2 abortions, killed 2 babies in her womb in 1993, and then chose to have live babies later on in life when it was her choice, when it was the right time. So that's her story, right? And she's sticking to it. Jarrid Wilson, this pastor guy, tweeted out a photo of his nice, beautiful family, beautiful white babies, well, young boys, white boys, towheads, very blonde boys. Everybody should post a picture of their kids, and use the hashtag Great Joys. Zoom in on the picture of those 4 faces. Oh my gosh. How could that guy commit suicide? Beautiful wife, beautiful children, nice family, dead. He's dead now, and now it's just the wife and 2 boys. So isn't that such a shame? Crazy. I wonder why he was so miserable. I saw he had that nonprofit, Anthem of Hope, hashtag Your Life Matters, Suicide Prevention Month, all that stuff. His pinned tweet talked about love, and he quotes that 1 Corinthians 13:1, "Without love, I am nothing more than a resounding gong or clanging cymbal." And he illustrated it. It was so obnoxious. I wish I had this video for you, but I don't right now. But he got out a drumstick and started banging on this cymbal. And he talked about how sometimes you talk about politics, it just becomes like this if you don't have love about it. Where he's banging the cymbal, and he's in front of a very nice set. Crazy. I don't think he really had the real love. Because why would somebody commit suicide if they had that? So let me just briefly read to you, kind of skimming. Greg Laurie, who is a pastor, I tend to respect this guy. I don't know that much about him, but he's runs that Harvest Crusade thing. And actually, he's affiliated with the church that's down the street from here. Well, this guy's pastor, the head in top of him, said he said there's a time to mourn and stuff like that. He's talking about it's with deepest sadness and shock I have to report Jarrid Wilson went to be with the Lord last night. I don't like that type of talk. Jarrid is survived by his wife, Julie Wilson, his 2 sons, Finch and Denham, his mother, father, siblings. He loved the Lord and had a servant's heart. He was vibrant, positive, always serving and helping others. To me, that's just To me, that's just making up for the misery inside. And so they had this outreach to help people dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts. He needed some inreach, apparently, not just this outreach thing. And they talk, and he quotes a bunch of Bible verses. Nothing can separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus. And Revelation 21:4, that in heaven there's no more sorrow, suffering, and death. But we don't know where this guy went. And his wife, too, had this posted a picture of him in a lake on a boat and said, "It's my loving, giving, kind-hearted, encouraging, handsome, hilarious, gave the shirt off his back husband, went to be with Jesus last night. No more pain, blah, 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 struggle. You are made complete and you are finally free. Suicide and depression, blah, 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 blah. Fed you the worst lies, but you knew the truth of Jesus, and I know you're by his side right this very second." Isn't this kind of like justifying suicide? I don't like this. He's all, "I need you, Jarrid, but you needed Jesus to hold you, and I have to be okay with that." Man, what a shame. And then there's like, there's living husbands who are betas like that too. So, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Happy day. Nick, first-time caller out of Florida. Nick, how are you?
So far, I'm all right. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
Now, I had a question. Well, now I got another one.
Okay.
Do you believe it's possible to enter in the kingdom of heaven after you've committed suicide?
I don't know. I have doubts, but I don't really think about that.
No. That's all. You can't really answer more than that. I mean,
Yep.
That's all you got is an opinion. I mean, I'm not trying to make you to make up something or nothing.
Yep.
Now, here was another thing. Judas, right? You were talking about him earlier.
Yeah,
How
Judas
he betrayed
Iscariot.
Jesus, right?
Yeah, who betrayed Jesus.
And then he went out and he killed himself.
Yeah.
Now, if he was a follower of Christ and he listened to everything Jesus had said, why would he kill himself instead of just asking for forgiveness?
That's a good question, man. I mean, why does anybody kill themselves? Any Christian kill themselves, right? So-called Christian.
Well, here's what I would think, right?
Okay.
What would make more sense? This is just, I don't know what you'd call it. This is just like an opinion.
All right.
What if he was actually what if the group of disciples got upset and broke them up because he betrayed Jesus?
Roughed him up. What if the group of disciples roughed him up because he betrayed Jesus?
Neck, strung him up, and was like, "You messed up, buddy. Here you go."
And then they wrote that it was a suicide. I don't know, man. That's a little too much speculation for me.
Anyways, I mean, people are being suicided all the time when they actually. You know what I mean? Jeffrey Epstein. You don't know. I mean.
Yeah, I know. That's too crazy, man. I can't even. I don't even want to entertain that type of speculation because, like you said, that's where we have to stop.
So many followers. He had so many people following them.
Hey, man, this is what I say to that. Let's skip the speculation and just stick with what we know. It's really.
I just like having the thought.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
I don't think I'm serious because, like Jesse says, we're not in the thought.
Man, that's so shocking. All right, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Chris, out of Arizona. Let me get to you. Chris, how are you doing?
Hi, James. I'm great. How are you?
Oh, hey. Doing fine. Sometimes, if I don't remember that this is the Chris from Arizona, I'm expecting a man.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyways.
Chris from Arizona.
Cool.
Probably boring your your people or whatever, but I wanted to let you know that I identified with what you said earlier about when the Twin Towers went down, when the planes ran into them.
Yeah.
I saw it live on television, and
So
at
did
the
I.
time, I didn't feel any emotion about it either.
Yeah, it was shocking. You're like, okay, this is a real terror attack. But all of the emotion that came with it for the media especially, I didn't have that.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I mean, it's
and I was concerned about it too. I was just like, why don't I feel any? I mean, gosh, I'm an emotional person. I'm
Yeah.
pretty emotional. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah. I think there's this false thing where even as a younger Christian, I was a younger Christian at that time, right? I thought that I was supposed to like work up my emotions because that's what I thought the love and earnestness was. So I think I was kind of like this pastor guy that is all emotional about. I never kissed up to the blacks the way that he did, the people of color, over
Right.
somebody else saying something that may or may not be right or stupid or KKK. Who cares? But people are traumatized into becoming emotional, thinking that that's right when that's exactly wrong. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the platitudes that you were talking about the gentleman that committed suicide, Jarrid Wilson.
Uh-huh.
Wow, the platitudes, you're right. His wife saying, oh, he's in a better place. Or, I mean, if a loved one of mine died, I don't even think I would be able to say anything at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like tragic.
Right.
That's real tragic. Real tragedy is him taking his life. And
yeah.
those platitudes sound just empty.
You know what would shake them into reality, I think, which I didn't see it in the articles. Maybe it was there, but buried. But I wanted to see how I wanted to know what he did, how he took himself out. Because that would be like, what the heck? This is so wrong. As opposed to just using the euphemism, he took his own life, he went to be with Jesus, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
To me, that's that niceness that is so evil. And yeah, maybe we don't need to know every explicit detail, but it would be nice to know that and then like face reality as opposed to this, he went to be with Jesus or he's in no more suffering. That's
right.
That's just encouraging
Jelly.
suicide, to be honest.
That's what it sounds like to me too.
Yeah. And this all, it's so ironic, I guess, that it's on, National Suicide Prevention Week. Why are they focusing so much on this? It has been an issue since 1975 when they established this week. And sooner than that, if they had this World Suicide Prevention Day. And I remember there were some Christian songs like "Don't Say Suicide." So it's been a problem.
What Christian song?
Don't say suicide.
Oh.
And I just remember it from when I was a kid because I didn't know what it was. But it's just like people have become more and more emotional and corrupt and messed up families and messed up Christianity. It's
I
pathetic.
once was a customer at Walmart, and the cashier was ringing me up, and she had this angel on her shoulder, and I don't know if the customer behind me asked her a question about her angel or whatever. She actually committed abortion, and she was like, oh, this is to remind me of my baby that I killed, and she's my angel over my shoulder now. And I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, that's...
I didn't say a thing. I was shocked. I was like, in my head, I was like, you kill your baby.
Wow.
And you think your baby is your angel? I'm just...
People are so
I
deluded.
Just can't believe it.
Yeah. That's that. I mean, it's kind of like, that's that nicety that justifies real pure evil. It's so wrong. Thank you, Chris.
It's evil. You're welcome. You have a good day.
All right, you as well. I'm going to get to more of you guys, but I want to address Howie Manley on Periscope says, it doesn't matter how he did it, he's still dead. Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm just curious. Aren't you kind of curious? Since he shared the rest of his life with us, I want to know for some reason. Because it's, sometimes reality of details will shake you up a little bit more. I mean, kind of wake you up a little. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just voyeuristic, right? Because people get so interested in other people's lives. So maybe I'm wrong for being over interested in that. The juicy information. I don't want to get into gossip, but I am on the radio. Got to talk. So, yeah, this guy had that viral tweet about hashtag great joys. So much for great joy, though. Oh, by the way, the news of his death comes on Suicide Awareness Day, September 10th. Because this news actually came out yesterday. And it follows a number of high-profile suicides among pastors and the quote-unquote mental health community. So much for that, right? Including 30-year-old Andrew Stoecklane. This is according to, I think, Religion News Service via Christianity Today, who is a pastor in Chino, California, who often preached about mental illness. So another 30-year-old pastor killed himself recently, who had talked about, quote-unquote, mental illness. And it's so strange to me to hear pastors talk about that as opposed to spiritual illness. But I don't think that they realize that you can be perfect. A lot of us don't, right? At least not in the way we live. And so they don't believe that spiritual healing heals the body, the mind, the mental. Anyways, let me get to James, first-time caller out of Nebraska. James, how are you?
Awesome, man. It's good to be on the phone with you. How you doing, James?
Doing fine. Right on.
Awesome. I wanted to call in and talk about this Jarrid guy. He's a real example of just the wrong person to be leading a large church and people against suicide. He clearly had some big problems and probably a little bit of a beta.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I saw Smitty 2000, longtime viewer, said, make suicide illegal. Problem solved. I don't know. Sorry. Actually, they're trying to make it legal. They're trying to legalize different forms of suicide. But yeah, shouldn't be leading. He should be, he shouldn't be doing this outreach. Maybe some of that will help a little, but, with the symptoms. But it won't fix the root because couldn't physician heal thyself, right? It's like my friend, I have a friend who won't listen to his uncle, who's his age too, who's a doctor because he's fat. This guy's a doctor and he's fat. So he's not going to listen to him. He doesn't respect him as a doctor, even though he's very educated, all that stuff. But it brings up a good, down-to-earth, common sense point that you shouldn't be leading if you're a mess. At least not in that way. He was trying to help. I respect him for that. Or respected him.
Yeah, he was going for like a good cause, but he totally just wasn't prepared. Like, he took on too much. He couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
He was too beta for all that. He needed to progress a little bit.
It's like Oprah. I'm sure Oprah Winfrey was well-intentioned, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? I don't know where that saying comes from, but it's true.
He probably didn't have any idea what he's getting himself into. It just came over him, and he was just like, wow, like, he just probably couldn't handle all the mess he was in.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Good point. I appreciate it, James.
Yeah, so we definitely need strong alphas leading all those causes, so we can't have these people trying to be Christians and trying to change and, just killing themselves. That's not the right way to go.
He thought alpha was meanness. He had a wrong view of masculinity and love and all that stuff. It's too bad.
It's good to be strong because strongness carries over, especially when you're in a group. So you need to have that presence.
Yeah. All right, James. Appreciate it, man. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Steve, I'm going to get to you, but hang tight. Dan out of Phoenix, Arizona. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing fine. You're Dan, my perfect listener from originally from South Africa. Nice to hear from you again, man. What's up?
Well, I just wanted to say, when I was a young man, I was doing 2 jobs, 80 hours a week, and I just kind of got overworked really, and I lost my mind. Got drunk one night, and I went and threw myself in the River Thames.
Threw yourself wet? Threw yourself wet?
I threw myself in the River Thames.
Oh, in the Thames River. The Thames.
Yeah.
Thames it looks like, but it's pronounced Thames. T-H-A-M-E-S.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, you got it.
No,
got it.
you pronounced it right. I'm just telling people. I learned that because I had cousins in Cambridge for a while. Anyways.
Cambridge, beautiful place.
Yeah.
So I threw myself in with a backpack with weights in it.
Uh-huh.
And I was very drunk. I drank a bottle of whiskey, and I basically went under the water, and I was drowning. And just before I went under, there was a load of American tourists on the bank. This is at night, really late.
Yeah.
And they got the riverboat police to come and pull me out.
Wow.
And so you'd think, like, I got to that point of, not really caring, and I'm now going to die. But anyway, they rushed me to the hospital, and I was okay. Well, I don't know, 10 years later, maybe,
Uh-huh.
I went on to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in Britain, and I won a lot of money.
Whoa.
So that wouldn't have happened if I'd have successfully killed myself.
Yeah.
So what I did then was God got my attention. I felt something happen in my heart, and I went and got baptized. I gave my life over.
That was after you won all that money?
Sorry?
You got baptized after you won all that money?
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, because it doesn't solve the problems. Being rich doesn't solve your problems.
True.
And so, yeah, I got baptized, and then, by the way, you can watch the video of it. Somebody's put it on YouTube.
Of your baptism?
Of
your baptism or the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire episode?
The actual Who Wants to Be a Millionaire episode is there.
All right. Yeah, send that to us.
So I'm trying to help people by saying that it's a mortal sin to commit suicide.
I've heard that.
You've got nothing to lose by just going and get baptized. So try and join a fellowship, get baptized, and then hand it over, everything, and trust in God, and then you'll be amazed what can happen.
Right on, Dan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so just one last thing I want to say, which is that God's imagination is much better. God imagined my future in America. I couldn't even conceive of it.
Yeah.
So if he's controlling it and making the plan, you just really have to go with it and trust and have faith. So that's really all I've got to say, actually, about that.
All right, Dan.
And if you want to see my video, the video of me on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, my name is Hot Chin, as in like having a hot chin.
Okay.
And just put in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and people can watch it.
Hot Chin. Okay.
So
thanks, man.
You're doing a great job, James. I love you.
All right. Appreciate it, Dan. Take care.
Have a great day. Bye.
You too. All right. Let me get to Steve I'm running low on time. Los Angeles, California. Steve, nice to hear from you, man.
How are you doing, James?
Doing fine. Thank you.
Cool. I just wanted to, I saw that episode or that video on Jesse's channel about, not reparations, but what was it called?
Affirmative action. Yeah.
Affirmative action, that's right.
I'm just going to explain briefly. Guys, if you haven't seen it, 1995, the Jesse Peterson show, the cable access show, Jesse interviewed an NAACP lawyer who's for affirmative action, and her name was Molly Munger, a white woman. I think she's white. And so you wanted to talk about Molly Munger, the affirmative action NAACP white woman lawyer.
Yeah, so I was just kind of curious who this lady was. As usually when I watch people, I just look them up.
Okay.
And it turns out that I don't know if you guys know this or you guys talked about this already, but it turns out she's the daughter of a billionaire, and she may have $1 billion herself.
Wow.
Which I think is really interesting. And I looked in and she's basically been politically active in California since the 80s or 90s. And this is like something really easy most people can Google. If they just Google Molly Munger, they'll find that she donated $44 million of her own money, not like an organization, but her own personal money, to to some proposition about expanding the public education system. And that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to comment on that, but I think it's just really interesting that she's a billionaire. But there's more to the story.
Charlie Munger, age 95. Wow. Born in Omaha, Nebraska. That's her dad.
And he worked for
9 children.
Worked for Warren Buffett.
Okay. Wow.
Hello?
Yeah.
So the other thing is that another thing that popped up researching her is that she recently signed this open letter to Congress or the government, the federal government, basically advocating for a wealth tax in the U.S. And she signed this with a bunch of other billionaires, and you can look it up and you can see all the people she signed it with. Most notably George Soros, which I find very interesting.
Interesting, man.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much against the wealth tax. I know it.
Yeah, if she was at all associated with Warren Buffett, he talked about raising taxes too. So, I mean, she's a liberal. What do you expect? Interesting, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just think, I'm particularly worried about the wealth tax because I feel it's one of those big things that change the way our country operates. So this is evil. A completely unprecedented tax that taxes basically the money you have, not the money you make.
Uh-huh.
And it affects people who have more than $50 million.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really matter to me because I feel like if we change the order of things, then that eventually will, who knows what these millionaires do. I mean, some of them are good, some of them are bad. I think most of them are good, and they're kind of holding apart the structure of our society. So, if they start leaving the country, that's not great. So, I don't know.
All right, man. Appreciate the contribution. Steve, take care, man.
No problem. See you later. Bye.
All right. I have a caller, but I don't know who's on the line. But let me get quickly to a couple of points. There's these, PTSD is real big right now, being promoted. Well, these veterans with PTSD, I was reading about them, and they're turning to beekeeping for relief, some of them, over in New England somewhere, New Hampshire. So this one veteran who had 40 years in the military, so he's I think he's in his 50s, late 50s, 57 years old. And so he has turned to beekeeping, and it keeps his mind off of that stuff. And it's just kind of an interesting side note. I'm sure Jesse Lee Peterson's deeper solutions are better, but it's just interesting that a lot of them are turning to farming and other agricultural careers. I've heard of these veterans with PTSD who do this thing with a war horse where the war horse will come over from sneak up behind him basically and put its head on the guy's shoulder or something like that. And it'll cure them supposedly, or at least make them feel better with their PTSD and anxiety. PTSD being post-traumatic stress syndrome and anxiety and all this stuff. I think that people are really weak emotionally, or mentally, also physically, but spiritually, and a whole lot of things are going on. But I think that it's just kind of interesting that this manual labor type of working with animals and nature and stuff like that, is kind of healing because it sort of healing, right? It's not really healing, but it helps bring people back to down to earth, if you will, right? Back to reality. It's just kind of an interesting side note because I think that it, when you're depressed, you're supposed to go for a run or exercise because that stirs up endorphins. And you're supposed to have a balance in life. So maybe it brings back some of that balance that people have lost by being city boys and girls and not having active lives and not dealing with God's creation, if you will. I don't know. It's just thinking out loud. Hopefully you got that. Dana, out of Texas, first-time caller. Dana, how are you?
I'm well. How about you, Dave?
Doing fine, thank you.
So, basically, I was calling in about the guy that had committed suicide, the father.
Jarrid Wilson.
And yeah, it really is a shame, and it's really sad, but it is really selfish at the same time.
Yep. True. Suicide is selfish.
It's always ironic to me that people, if one of their family members committed suicide, they'd be devastated.
Right.
They don't realize that they'd feel the same way about them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And all of this kissing up to the suicidal and the depressed and stuff like that, and they want to destigmatize all these mental health and all that stuff. Which is a liberal word, right? Destigmatize. It's wrong. It's appealing up to their egos, which isn't right.
Well, it's not only not right, but it's not helping anybody.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
does that help
That's
anybody?
a good point. Yeah, totally.
It's not only a shame for him, but a shame for his wife, his kids. I mean,
Yeah, especially his
wife
boys.
committed suicide next. What happened to the kids?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
those
you can't
boys.
just give up like that.
Yeah, those young boys that he has. Now they have the mother with no protection. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, such a shame.
It really is, and it's like, what if those boys grow up to be suicidal? He could have been there for them.
Like I have friends that are like idiot when they think about these entertainers. These well-to-do, wealthy, so-called successful guys that have committed suicide, and I think the same thing. Like idiot, like that guy that sings, "I tried so hard."
Yes. Exactly.
And then
Linkin Park.
Raging, whatever, I forget. Yeah, Linkin Park guy. Yeah, and then the other guy that
The guy from Soundgarden
showed me
did
how
at
to
the
live.
same time,
Yeah,
too.
that guy. Soundgarden guy killed himself. And then that other guy who wasn't that funny, but he was a comedian and actor. He played Peter Pan one time. It didn't fit.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams
Yeah.
committed suicide. Idiot. These people
It's
should
really
not have
sad.
done that. But anyways,
And it's
I
what, we're gonna
appreciate
lead
it.
by example. That's a good example.
right. Thank you, Dana.
Have a good one, Hake.
You too. Take care. Real fast, let me get to Jerry out of Torrance, California. First-time caller. Jerry, how are you?
Hey, how are you, James?
Fine?
Yeah, about the guy who committed suicide too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so like a shame, and I hope I'm not judging by saying this, but they're like fake Christians,
Yeah.
and the most of all, they think that God is their savior, but still they commit suicide.
Right. That's not a Christianity that I want to be part of. That's true.
Exactly. And before I was watching, Greg Glory,
Yeah.
service at every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listened to Jesse, it's like, oh yeah, that's true. They're like promoting I just wanted to get into this suicide hotline thing.
Yeah.
They just promoting suicide, mostly
Right.
the kids, because I'm working at the so-called behavioral hospital.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids that they have like suicide thoughts and they're taking meds as little as 6 years old.
That's crazy.
So it is freaking crazy. I mean, I hope I didn't say that. Excuse my French. But it's so freaking crazy. They promoting medications. They're
Yeah.
promoting poisoning your kids.
Yep.
It's like some of the guys doesn't want to having a baby or family because of that.
And they're planting the thought in your mind, like you said, with
Yes.
this, don't commit suicide. I wasn't even thinking about it. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Good
All right.
input. Take care.
You too, man. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm going to have a guest, hopefully. That's going to be fun. You're going to like it. Okay, take care, guys.